Hey guys, in this tutorial we will create this abstract horse and animate it. We will cover a bunch of techniques that you can use to create such art animal compositions or anything else you like. Things like this cloth simulation with a metal frame, generative modeling, and a way to create complex shapes with several modifiers, and how to tweak them so you can create so many different results with a few mouse clicks. We will take a look at the geometry nodes, creating these pipe-like ears, and the particle system with a hair and how to animate it using force field. Do some shading and rendering in Eevee, and I hope you learn a lot. So let's get into it. Starting with the body, scale the cube on y-axis, go to edit mode, select the top face, and scale down a bit. And if we go to the right view, let's extrude it, scale, rotate, and extrude one more time. Adjust this face, and this edge loop, till we have something like this. Apply the scale, then select all faces and subdivide them with 3 levels. Select some of these edge loops, the edges that we will use for the metal frame. Just a few more. Ctrl B to build them. Duplicate the object and press the right mouse button to leave it in the same position. Hide it for now. With these edges still selected, press Ctrl 3 to add subdivision surface with 3 levels. Ctrl A over the modifier to apply it. And with this selection, we can go and create a new vertex group. We'll use it for the cloud simulation. Just assign the selection and let's go to the physics. Add a cloud. Here we have some different presets that you can use, like cotton, silk, and so on. The default one is okay for us. Adjust a few settings like the pressure 1. We have to pin our vertex group right here under the shape and add some negative offset to the shrink factor. Last, we can disable the gravity and just press the spacebar to run the clone simulation. 15 frames or maybe 20 is enough. We can shade smooth and check what we have. It looks like we have some artifacts, but we can clean this by adding a subdiv modifier with 2 levels. And it looks much better. Once we have what we want, we can convert it to mesh, which will apply all the modifiers that we have. Let's hide this cube for now and unhide the other one. Go to edit mode with the face selection, Ctrl I to invert it, and delete these ones. Press Ctrl 3 to add subdiv with 3 levels. Add solidify modifier with some negative offset. We can also bevel this thing. But like you see, we can run the amount too much. This is because we have clamp overlap on, which limit the bevel so they don't intersect each other. If we disable it, we can add whatever amount we want, but we will have some shading issues like you see here. Anyway, for now we can leave it on so we don't have these artifacts. We can add 3 segments and shade smooth. We can decrease it a bit more. And enable auto smooth right here under the normals. Alt H to unhide everything. And we can turn on gravity to highlight the height and the low parts of the mesh. Rename the cubes to whatever we like. And we can always go to edit mode and play with this frame so it fits better with the clothes. But let's not waste more time here. We can move on to the head. Here we'll do some generative modeling and we can use some simple shape like cylinder with 6 vertices. We don't have to be precise, but let's add 2 edge loops right here and tweak the shape a bit so it resembles a bit more the shape that we want it to be. Scale this face and this one. It's best if we go to a right view. Alt Z for the X-ray mode. Grab these edges. And this technique is so nice because you don't need to do too much. Just throw a few modifiers and you can always come back and tweak the shape the way you like it. Starting with remesh, creating all these nice variations, but be careful if using voxel not to go too low because it can crash the PC. It happens to me many times. The next one is triangulate, which will triangulate all the faces, like we can see from the name. Edge split with 0 angle to split all of them. To see what is doing this modifier, we can add smooth and play with the factor. We can solidify what we have with some positive or negative offset. And the last one is the bevel. And now we can start playing with all of these settings, tweak the smooth factor, go back to remesh or any other modifier. We can always go back to edit mode and refine the shape. Anyway, we can continue with the next part. Add a cube. Use the axis. We can always press Z, X or Y twice for the local axis. Go to the right view, apply the scale. This is important for the right display of the modifiers and not only. Let's add bevel here. 3 segments in the most cases is enough. Duplicate it and scale up, then scale down on the local Z axis. Grab it, position right there, and add the array modifier with Z factor only. Increase the count, and we have the shape. Duplicate this cube and we can use again generative modeling, but with different modifiers this time. Add to remesh. Another one is displays. Here we can add a texture, and from here we can set a texture type. Pick up cloud for example, and already see how it's affecting the mesh. We can isolate it so we see only this object. Add a decimate, and if we decrease the ratio, we can decrease the face count, creating different shapes. Next one is wireframe, and at the end, subdivision surface. The function started, we can tweak the modifiers now and see what we can get. Smooth out everything with a subdiv. Touch the ratio of the decimate. We just need to push back the subdiv layers for now. We can also try the remesh. Be careful with the voxel. We can use the shift key to be more precise. Let's bring back everything and see what we have. Make it bigger from the strength right here, or just scale it. But make sure you apply the scale because the things can get trickier without that. And what if we make it thicker? Maybe touch a bit more the decimate, or we can just leave it like that. Go ahead with the ears, and for them we can use geometry nodes and instant cylinder. For this we have to create a base mesh first, so grab a cube, go to edit mode, and create something that resembles the ears. We can apply the scale now, add mirror modifier, pick up the head as a mirror object, rename it, and let's create our instance. Add a cylinder first, scale on Z. If we go to edit mode, we can select these faces, insert them, and we can use loop tools to bridge them. This is an add-on that you can enable from preferences. This one right here. Apply the scale, add a bevel, adjust the amount, and instead of bumping up the segments, we can use hardened normals, which will smooth out the corners without adding additional geometry, and it's a good option if we have a lot of instances. Rename it, and bring back everything. We can scale down, apply the scale, and hide it from the report and from rendering. Go to geometry nodes, close this window. With the ears still selected, add a new geometry nodes tree. Shift A and add distribute points on faces. Now we have all these points that we can use to instance our cylinder on them. But for this we need instance on points. Plug it there. Grab the instance and drop it anywhere. Actually move it right here. And plug the geometry to the instance. And on all these dots now we instance our cylinder. We can add some different scale. With more space here. Move some of these nodes. Shift A, add a noise texture. Plug the factor to the scale. Add color to control it. The black are the smallest ones, and the white are the biggest. Tweak the scale with the bars. We can also change to pass and disk and control the distance between them from here and how many of them from density. I'm not sure how the rotation works with the mirror modifier, So if anybody knows, please comment below. We can still remove it, duplicate the ear with Alt D, and mirror it from here. If we come back to the distortion, we can animate this thing from here. We can plug the var node and add a driver in it, but maybe with the hair animation will be too much. We can come back to this later. Move on to the eyes. Shift and right click to move the 3D cursor there. Add a UV sphere. Shade smooth. We can duplicate it and join the copies with Ctrl J. Bring back the 3D cursor to the world origin. Here we can add mirror modifier. Add a cube for the next one. Grab it, scale, and we have something like pedestal. Apply the scale. Add the bell and adjust it. Shade smooth. Add a cylinder. This will be the thing that holds the horse head. When scale, you can use Shift Z, X or Y to exclude some of the axes. Duplicated skeleton, and let's go to the Mohawk. We can start with the plane, move it to the top, somewhere here. Go to right view, edit mode. Select these vertices and extrude them a few times. Try to make the faces equal size. We can apply the scale, select everything, subdivide with 3 cuts, and increase the smoothness. We can go to edit mode and press O for proportional editing. It's a cool thing, just use the scroll button to control the affected zone. Select all faces now and extrude along normals. Ctrl 3 to add subdivision modifier. We can make some of these edges sharper with edge grease. Just select the ones that we want and hit Shift E. We can control how sharp we want them. Change back to faces, press C for circle selection and select these faces. Extrude along normals again and edge grease one more time. For the hair, we can keep everything to one object with vertex groups, weight painting and so on. But in this case, we will just separate some of these faces. Select these guys here and these ones. Then just duplicate them, hit P and separate the selection. And we have another object. It's time for the hair. Create a new particle system. Change to here. Reduce the number. Increase the length. A few more segments here. Change the path steps of the render to 6 for better resolution of the curve. Same with the viewport display. Switch the children to interpolated. We can use amount of 50, but for now let's keep the display amount lower to run everything faster. Increase the clump to sharpen the tips of the hair, maybe increase the shape a bit as well. To make this animation we will need a force field. We can adjust the size of the turbulence to see better where it is. And if we press the spacebar now, we can see that nothing is happening because we need to enable hair dynamics. We can also remove the gravity. It's slightly visible now, but if we increase the strength of the turbulence, we have this thing. Playing with the strength, size and the flow will give us so many different effects. You can see what they're doing, and you can go ahead and spend some time here if you want. I'll use these settings for now. The other thing is the position of the turbulence, which also gives us different results. Let's set the animation to 30 frames per second. That means that if we have 300 frames, we will have 10 seconds of animation. But we can offset a few frames because at the beginning the hair is not so dynamic. Go to the cache to update the frames. From here we can also bake the animation once it's ready. Another thing for the turbulence is you can animate for more dynamic movement. Just add a keyframe at the beginning and one at the end of the animation with some offset of the rotation or the position. Add a camera. Snap it to the view. Change to 1080 for 1:1 ratio. Pick the position. Change the focal length to 85mm. With the camera selected, we can add the passport tool from here. We can move on with the shading. Go to Material Preview. Change here to Shader Editor. We can select the frame and make it metallic from here. The cloth is using the same shader, but we can disconnect it from here. Remove the metallic effect. Give it some base color, like this bright orange. Increase the sheen all the way up, which is designed for things like clothes and so on. We can add some pattern here. For this we can bring the mix shader and plug it right here, so we can mix the two shaders. Duplicate this one, pick another color, plug it there, and add a Voronoi texture, which we will use to tell how to mix these two materials. Ctrl T to add the mapping and texture coordinates. For this you need to enable Node Render add-on from preferences. Add a color ramp to control how they mix. If we drop it here, we can control how the colors mix using the bars. Change this to Minkowski. Increase the scale a bit. We can remove the randomness. Play with the bars, you will have something like this. Another thing is to make this fabric more realistic with bump. Add a magic texture. Bring the mapping here and plug it to the vector. We need a bump. Plug it to normal and now connect the color to the height. We can decrease the scale. And the strength is too much, but we can always control it from here. This looks okay. Let's grab the head and create something like brushed metal. Add a noise texture. Control T for these two nodes. Change the object. Plug the noise to the roughness. And add a color map right there to adjust it. Black is no roughness and the white is 100%. Use the scroll mouse button to control the brightness of the colors. We can bring the bars closer. If we now just increase the scale of some of the axes, you will get this effect. Grab the eyes, pick some base material, metallic all the way up. Here we can add multiple colors to this object. Add a new material, they will be all metal, so just copy this one. Then paste it over the new material. And only change the base color. Select the faces you want, or we can use LK for linked faces, then assign the new color. Repeat this thing one more time. To shade the ears, we need to select the instance object and add the materials to the cylinder. For multiple colors, we need to use object info. Add the color ramp first. Plug the random to the factor. Change this so we have constant colors without the gradient between them. Pick up the colors you like. We can use something bright again or whatever you like. Make it metallic. And the thing is that you can adjust from here how many of the cylinders will be affected by each color. Go ahead with this cube, make it metal in gray base color. Use scroll mouse button to control the brightness. For this part, pick some base color only. And for this one, we can create something like stone, like this terrazzo mosaic stones or what are they called. So I'll have a texture, use the object, our map there, and we can see that something doesn't look right. This is because the skill is not applied. Pick some colors with the bars, and we have this dot texture. But if we plug the color, we'll change it to the pattern we want. Duplicate these two nodes, connect them to the object. The idea is to add one more color, and for this we have to use mix RGB. Change it to multiply. And how they mix can be controlled by the factor. Plug this color around to the second color. If we choose another color, nothing changes. And this is because we have to tweak the map allocation or rotation. It's hard to see what we have here, so if we link this material to the pedestal, we can see better what we have. Play with the settings. Link these object materials as well. Same here. But let's disconnect it and add some lines to the base color. We can do it with the wave texture. Add a color ramp. Constant. Pick this color or any other you like. We need another mapping here. Reset the scale. Pick the rotation. And we can leave it like that. The hair looks best in cycles, but we can add some variations here with the color ramp. Use again the wave texture. Maybe reduce the roughness. And let's mix this with the emission shader. Use again Vorloy to control the mix. Add a color ramp. The black is the principal BSF and the white is the emission. Scale up. Adjust the bars. And we can leave it like that. The last one is the background. Add a plane, scale up, rotate on y-axis, move it somewhere here behind, pick the cover, and we can switch to render preview. We can add the environment texture first. You can download this HDRI map from Polyheron, like many others, and there is not only maps. Everything there is free, but you can always support these guys if you like what you see. We can enable some of the EV render settings. Also here we can change the strip. This is important if you want to use the real size of the hair, because we are in EV. Then we can go to the hair shape, and from here we can set the root and the tip diameter, more thicker or thinner. If we jump to the core management, we can change the look to high contrast or even very high contrast. Open one more window to make the lighting setup easier. Area light rotated. Increase the power, size to 5 or 6 meters. Position whatever you like. Use the first window to see how it looks in the final render, and experiment with the position, rotation, and so on in the other window. Change the color to light purple. We can duplicate it, place it somewhere there. Change the color to blue and decrease the power. Scale the camera up to see better what it is. Add a depth of field. Press E over the focus distance and pick the focus point. This will calculate the distance to the object and decrease the f-stop. Let's set up the animation. From here we can choose where to be saved. Change file format to FF MPEG video. Container to MPEG-4. Output quality to perceptually lossless. And by hitting Ctrl F12, it will render and save your animation there. Anyway, before that I always like to do some tests first, and for this you can use the viewport to render the animation. This is a fast way to check if everything is okay and set up the way you want it. Remove the overlays. Go to the view and hit this option here. We can check what we have, do some final improvements and spend more time on this. But that was the things I wanted to share in this tutorial, and I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay inspired, and I'll catch you on the next one.